The Chusky Boys!
This is Chad with Hemlock. What does a Chusky Boy looks like?
Chusky Boys, what's that?
Chusky Boys, not to be confused with Husky Boys.
The Chusky Boys.
I believe y'all guys are listening to the Chusky Boys.
This is William Duvall, and you are listening to the Chusky Boys.
Week 10 of the Chusky Boys. Woot woot.
Feeling lots of Chusky today, boys.
Every day I'm Chusky.
It ain't a good thing.
How do we come back from an episode from Taryn Daly? I mean, how fantastic was that episode last week, dude?
It was a great episode. People loving it, getting all kinds of good messages and some tweets. There's no tweets about it, I guess, but definitely some Facebook messages. Been knocked down with the Rona all damn week, so I've had all kinds of time to check them out. So
even the Rona can even get a Chusky Boy. Is that what you're telling me, Dusty?
I think a Chusky Boy is a prime candidate for the Rona. Luckily, I got my triple shot, so I'm feeling not terrible. Not great, not terrible, but been recouping at home, so there it is.
So what's been the worst of it, man? Just extremely tired?
Yeah, mild flu symptoms, I guess. Or you could say flu symptoms, I suppose. I mean, I've had the flu before, like the legit flu, and that kicked my ass. This has not kicked my ass, but it's just been rough. Just super tired. I mean, my muscle aches, body aches are out of this world. Headaches, which is really weird. I never get headaches. That was my first symptom I had, was a couple of days worth of headaches. And my wife is like, well, I've had headaches too. Maybe we should get tested. So,
uh-oh. You guys appreciate naps right now, though? Those 3 hours, like marathon naps, those are the best, aren't they?
I feel like a baby. I feel like a Chusky baby because I've been sleeping a lot, and it's been pretty good. Feeling pretty good. Excited for football this weekend, though. Something to look forward to other than watching Roadhouse.
Let's talk a little football. Actually, before we get on to our recap Week 18, some interesting games from that week. I think we both can attest to that. And then NFL firings, right? So there's a couple surprises there. I think we've both seen. I think Brian Flores, not to name drop, I think was probably one of the most interesting ones for sure.
The interview in Chicago yesterday or today, I think.
Yep, I think so. Yeah. So, but before we get into any of that, man, I think we're gonna give a warm Chusky hell yeah to you. You were on SiriusXM this last week, weren't you, Dusty?
Hey. Bringing up old stuff. I was
old
actually.
Stuff? No, this one was actually pretty current. I mean, we're not talking about the incident. Remember, that's going to be its own episode for the incident.
Have we talked about that on here yet?
We haven't. Not. We've always alluded to it, but I tell, like you said, always the thousands of listeners that we have, we'll get to it. You can't use all your content up right away. But this last week, you weren't live, but you were mentioned on a fantasy football. I mean, why don't you go into some detail, Dusty? If I say it, I'm going to screw it up, man. So you take it from here.
So friend of the show, Michael Fabiano and Bob Harris, they have their SiriusXM, they're DJs for channel 87 SiriusXM, which is a fantasy sports channel, I should say. And they're on a program named after Alice in Chains' album Dirt, called The Dirt, which is like, I think it's every Tuesday or Monday. I listen to it every week, but I should know. I think it's every Monday. They have guests every week, like legit guests. Like Cantrell's been on there a couple times. So this last week was WWE superstar Seth Rollins. And the only reason I even knew, because I was on social media and Fabs, Michael Fabiano, call him AKA Fabs, tagged Seth Rollins, said, Seth Rollins up next on The Dirt. I'm like, oh shit. I just happened to make those guys WWE custom Bears helmet for Seth Rollins. Fabs asked me to make it for Seth. We also made one for Miz, and there's another WWE superstar. We're making one right now that we'll get into a couple weeks when it's done. But anyhow, I literally logged on as I seen it, and Seth Rollins literally was talking about it. It was kind of cool. He said, Fabs was like, hey, we got you. They were talking about the Alice in Chains fantasy football auction. So Alice in Chains fantasy football league just ended, like every other freaking fantasy football league out there. Fabs won 2 years in a row.
Wait, we made him.
Yeah.
Really, that's all the guy does is fantasy football. I mean, that is the bread and butter. I mean, you would expect him.
He works for SiriusXM and Sports Illustrated. He used to work for, I think, NFL Network, CBS Sports. He's a big deal.
If there's a mind for fantasy football and winning it back to back or even multiple times, it's that guy for sure.
Yeah, he's the dude. I mean, I won 3 out of my 5. I don't want to brag. I won 3/5 of my leagues this year. And I listen to Bob and Fabiano 2 or 3 times a week, so they definitely help me out. I don't want none of my competition to hear that, though. All right,
I'll definitely start listening because I got 3rd place in 2 out of the 3 leagues, and then 9th place in the other. So maybe I'll just take some pointers from you, bro.
It's luck, but there's a lot of waiver wire stuff. So anyhow, I forget my rambling on where I was, but basically, Fab said, "Hey, the fantasy football auction is coming up. The Allison Chains Fantasy Football and Friends League, whatever it's called." Coming up here in a few weeks. And Seth, we've got some interesting stuff for you. Maybe we can even play the soundbite here when we can throw that in here, I suppose. It's only like probably 30 seconds long. But basically, Fab said, we've got a custom Chicago Bears helmet for you. And Seth Rollins is like, yeah, I actually love that. And I even let you know, Fab, that I want one for myself, even though I don't collect my own merchandise, if you will, because it's so awesome. And Fab's like, yeah, our buddy Dusty hooked us up with these helmets, and that was pretty much it. So it was kind of cool. I mean,
name drop, warning, warning, name drop.
Oh, it's embarrassing. Hey, Jerry, you brought it up, Nemi.
That's still awesome, though, man. That's more than I can say.
Well, I'm sitting there sick with the Rona, you know what I mean, or not suspected Rona, and I'm just kind of on my phone in there, and like I see this tweet. Fab, so we're gonna have Seth Rollins on. I said, "Oh shit!" I logged in my SiriusXM app, turn it on. Within like 15 seconds, I heard my name on national radio, which is kind of cool.
That's a beautiful thing. Now, and then you kind of alluded to it earlier, but you have another helmet that you guys are working on right now with the old sketchy goat, right? Carmen's helping kind of piece that together as well.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, Carmen, the AKA the sketchy goat, who is our social media manager, and she does all of our awesome graphics we have. Working on some new stuff. She, without a doubt, is a 50-50 partner in this. I kind of come up with the stuff we want to work with. She usually adds her own spin on to make it even more beautiful. And then she makes it happen, which is like the hardest part, right? Anyone can think of anything badass. At least I can, 'cause I've always been creative. I know you are too. But she, within minutes, can make these insane, realistic images. We'll probably put a couple of those pictures up on social here. I've been kind of keep it to myself, but there's no reason to that. I think I'm going to put a few up on social and let everyone see these helmets that we were talking about all the time.
Yeah, be sure tag awesome. Her, tag you, tag the podcast, right? Give us any sort of call outs. We need it, right? Listen, this podcast is bleeding me dry, dude. You're worried about bad bets. I'm worried about the bill coming in for Zoom. Okay. You holler at me.
Our Irish listeners aren't paying the bills. We need some Germanic listeners.
Hey, what are you talking about? We got some of them Canada listeners now.
Oh, don't you know? We've got a few Canadian friends, as a matter of fact. I think...
Still not paying the bills. All the money going out, no money coming in, okay?
I think I'm going to name drop. I'm not going to name drop this individual just in case it doesn't work out, but we're going to have someone on, one of my friends who's a listener of the show, who's actually done work for Stone Temple Pilots. Like he's designed, like Sketchy Goat, Carmen has done some Cantrell shirts. We also got a guy up north of the border who's done work with STP and his buddies with those guys. He knows the DeLeo brothers pretty well, and he's a incredible artist. I've been trying to wheel and deal with him for a while to get one of his Cantrell pieces that he made, but we'll have him on soon.
I think DeLeo brothers, I think Interstate Love Song, that's just what comes to mind. I know everybody has their own Stone Temple Pilot favorites. Now, speaking of Carmen, one other thing that we are kind of working on, we're definitely not there yet, nor are you show ready with the old Rona. I'm just kidding. You look the same. We are looking at actually starting to do this live on Twitch. Chusky Boy episode. Certainly if it's just me and Dusty with the guests, we have to see their comfort level and those kinds of things. But it would definitely be live. Of course, the chat would be going, which would be interesting. I think that could be a good thing or a very bad thing. And the inability to really cut some of that stuff out. Now, when it comes to the podcast, we still have the ability to edit it, make it good, and add our wonderful intro. Don't want to take away from the intro that I think is awesome. But that'll kind of be the next step, the next media platform that we kind of hit up. We already have the username, the Chusky Boys, very original, right? Check it out, follow us. It's only a matter of time before something happens. So very cool. But anyway, nobody's as famous as Dusty, though, when it comes to his SiriusXM radio friends. Okay. You're the man. We are not worthy, Dusty. We are not worthy.
It's been an interesting ride. Hopefully we have some of those guys on the podcast. We've got some verbal confirmations from several high-end, well-known folks in that world, and we'll see if we can make it come to life.
And we had to make some adjustments this week, of course, with you feeling, under the weather. Usually we record this on Wednesday, get it out on Friday. We're actually recording this on Friday and still trying to get it out on Friday and edit it just so we can in time for the NFL playoffs. So we did have a guest lined up, but we had to push that just because Wednesday you were not in a good spot. So nothing awful, just probably couldn't keep a conversation going between the coughing and all that jazz.
A little bit of coughing, a little bit of farting, a little bit of sneezing. So week 18 was last week. I'm losing reality here.
Yep.
It's already the end of this regular season, the first extended season. I should say that first one extended a season. That's not true. The first 18-week NFL season, which was insane. Especially, we'll probably get into that. I grew up in a Steelers. I'm a Bears fan. I grew up in a Steelers house. We'll probably get into that whole debacle, which was crazy.
Yep.
And it also hit me about $60, so I'm not going to complain.
Nice.
And what's crazy about that, the $60 that I hit, I don't know if I told you this yet. I had a parlay. We talked about it that night. We texted about it. You told me there's no way I'd hit it. My quarterbacks had to have combined for the
500 yards or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, for the Steelers game, combined 500 yards. No. It wasn't the Steelers game. It was the evening game. It was the
Raiders and the Chargers.
Raiders and Chargers had to have 4 combined touchdowns, 500 combined total yards. Right? It was a player prop.
Huge.
Had a good day, so I kind of bet big on it. And there were, I think, 330, 350, 340 yards going into the fourth quarter.
It's nuts,
and I was already in bed, dude. I was like, I probably started getting corona then because I didn't feel great. I was tired. And I was like, holy shnikes, watching on my phone. I'm texting JR. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, this is the game. Steelers came. Okay. So Steelers pulled one out of their ass and they won that game, which I didn't think they would, but they beat the Ravens. The
Ravens are out
Lamar
now.
Jackson,
Lamar Jackson being out the last 4 weeks. They're out of the playoffs. They're bounced.
Yep. And the Colts had to lose against the 2-14 Jaguars, the old Jacksonville Jaguars. And the freaking Colts got beat and got booted from the playoffs. I was like, holy shit. Like my dad and my brother, I'm like, you guys, like, you do realize this is like, if you would have bet these two scenarios to happen, I mean, you would have broke Vegas.
Well, when you think about, like, when you hear like Andrew Siciliani or, the guy from the Red Zone, there's a couple different people from Red Zone channels. There's 2 different ones. There's like a DirecTV one and then just the NFL Network one. And they're like, well, the Steelers are in, but they're going to need a little help. They needed a little help and they got it. Like you said, I mean, the Jaguars were an underdog by 15.5 points.
That's more than
I took it. That is one of my bets. And they ended up winning outright. And Carson Wentz has been on the hot seat. They are not committed to him. And there is analysts just bad-mouthing the shit out of him because this is what he does in big games. And they had 2 opportunities.
They should have pulled him on halftime, I think.
2 opportunities. They had to win last week or the week 17 and then week 18, and they're in. And they shit the bed. They lost to the Raiders, which the Raiders are not an awful team. But the Jaguars are, in fact, an awful team. Mm-hmm. And they still can't. They lose by 15 points. 15 points.
How many picks did Wentz throw? 3 or 4? He was like
Jonathan Taylor. I mean, you got to feel bad for him. I mean, you know what I mean? The game or the season that he's had, and I think T.Y. this is going to be his last year. I mean, that's brutal. That's brutal to be a Colts fan. And like, it's so funny. I know of like,
can you imagine being the Steelers players looking up on the scoreboard and saying, holy shit, we're up by like 6 or 7 points and Colts are down by 20 points. We're money. We're in.
Right. But not as Steelers fan. Right. But I know I interrupted you, Dusty, but there's just a lot of excitement with this one, a lot of this craziness. But that night game, the night game was, if it ends in a tie, both teams are in and the Steelers are out. How many times did you hear that? And you're like, no,
210 times, man.
This is not going to be a tie.
And on my gambling sites, people are like, we are betting big on a tie. I'm like, how stupid are you? How can you bet on a tie? And what the hell happened?
Low risk, high reward. I mean, you know that much. It's going to pay out pretty damn good.
I'm convinced that someone sold their soul to the devil with 2 seconds left in overtime of that Sunday night game for them to kick that field goal. Because if it wasn't for that stupid ass timeout they called.
Daily, right? The Chargers coach. Yeah. Daily. Yep.
Raiders would not. They even said we're going to sit on it. Like there's no reason to risk this. But then I don't know if it was their moral compass or who knows what happened.
Timeout. You have the opportunity to reconsider.
All the above, and then boom, kick that short field goal.
This guy's a dumbass. Let's kick it. I mean, he didn't even get fired. if anybody should have got fired, he legitimately costed them to get into the playoffs.
Well, he might end up getting fired. I doubt it, but who knows?
I don't know. I think
going back to my parlay though, because of the overtime, I think those quarterbacks hit way more than 500 yards, almost 600 yards, because they were airing the freaking ball out, man, and they were getting ridiculous first down after first down after first down. I mean, that soft prevent defense, both defenses are running. That was a better like me. That was a good time. So I hit that one and
kept you up, man. Blood going, heartbeat a going. It's like I can't go to sleep now. I got to finish watching this game.
I meant to go to bed like at 8:30 that night. I don't think I ended up going to bed until like 11:30. It was insane.
Listen. I didn't bet that game. I was thinking about the over on that game though. God damn it. I didn't bet it officially. My pick, I would have lost, luckily. So let's get into that, right? So week 18, we went 1-1. Both of us won 1 and lost 1. So Dusty, you did go with your Steelers at plus 5.5. They won outright against Baltimore. We mentioned that earlier. So there's a win. I did go Chargers to win by 3 points against the Raiders. That was a straight up loss. They didn't win at all. So that's no bueno. And Dusty, you did go with your Chicago Bears plus 3.5 against the Vikings. Vikings beat them by 2 touchdowns, 31-17. Can't win them all.
See ya, Nagy and Pace, you bastards.
You're fired. And then I did pick the Colts at the Jags. I went with the Jags 15.5, and they won outright, like we mentioned earlier. So split that week. Another week.
So you went plus 15. Dude, you should have got 5 wins for that one.
I know. Playoffs start tomorrow, brother. We got 2 games tomorrow. We got the Raiders at Cincinnati at 2:30 Mountain Standard Time. We got the Patriots at the Buffalo Bills, 6:15.
That'd be the first ice bowl of 2022, it looks like. Fab's put on his social media. It's going to be negative 10 degrees wind chill, which I don't want to brag, but last Thursday was negative 41 here, and I was working outside, probably where I got Corona.
I don't know. Can the Corona, I mean, it would just freeze, wouldn't it?
I figured it'd die. I figured it'd literally.
Science. And here you are, though, bouncing back like any good Chusky boy would. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Sunday, we got Eagles at Tampa Bay, San Francisco at your Dallas Cowboys.
Whoa. Cowboys as the favorite? That terrifies the shit out of me. I'm not even going to lie.
The sneak-in Steelers at the Clyde-Hilaire-less Kansas City Chiefs. Cardinals at L.A. on Monday night. Monday Night Football, they're calling it. Monday Night Football playoffs 2022.
First time ever, isn't it?
First time ever. That's right. There's some good games, man. The spread's pretty big, which is obvious. The Steelers at the Chiefs.
Let's go back to that game. Didn't it, in the media, hasn't Ben said we don't have a chance? I think he's just being a smartass, but some of the interviews and stuff like that is like, well, let's just go out and have fun. We don't have a chance. You know what I mean? They are such the underdog.
I haven't heard that, but it makes sense. I mean, dude, they've been on living that Bon Jovi, living on prayer for.
I think Juju Smith-Schuster is back.
He's back. Well. Yeah. Clyde-Hilaire-Ellis is out. Tyreek Hill is banged up and expected to play. You could change between now and then. You know what? I was talking to my betting buddy Todd. When it gets to this time of the year, think about the big players who have already had COVID. If they've had COVID this season, chances are they won't have. I'm not a doctor.
We are not Google, medical professionals here, people.
But I do have Google. So you should have something called antibodies in your system. In the UK, 88% of their folks have antibodies for 6 months. So why I bring that up is if you got COVID this football season, more than likely you have antibodies, more than likely you won't get COVID. Definitely not proven. I'm not a doctor. They very well could get COVID. So you look at players like Aaron Rodgers, who's detrimental to the Packers. The Packers are garbage without him, like we'll see next season.
Immunized, right? I mean, he was immunized. Is that correct, Dusty?
Yeah, I don't even want to go into that.
Oh, right.
What an idiot.
Keep going.
But he's had legit COVID, and now he probably won't get it. So look at these other
Packers winning some money, though. Future bets. Don't forget, BetMGM. They're in Deadwood, South Dakota.
I still have my MGM bet slips. I got a couple of winners, and hopefully I hit a few more. But if you look at the playoffs, right? So look at some of these teams. Like you got Kyler Murray, you got Stafford Cup connection, several Chiefs players. You got your Cowboys players, Tom Brady, several high flying offensive players in the Bills. I wonder how close Vegas is looking at to see who's already had the Rona, because like I said, they probably won't get it the week for the Super Bowl if they've had it already. And if they haven't had it, I know around our parts of our neck of the woods, it's rampant right now. It's like almost a 40% infection rate almost, which is insane.
Yep.
Right. Yep. 2 out of 5 people that get tested have COVID. Like that's
not good.
More than double than it should be. Maybe, triple maybe. So
anything over 10%, anything over 10% is like rapid spread.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, and I know NFL got hit really hard for, was it like 3 weeks in a row? Probably. I don't know. I should have looked this up before we started. Like week, I don't know. Well, the whole season they've been getting hit, but like week 12 through 16 probably was really.
Dusty, you've been taking too many naps. You haven't had an opportunity to do any research, man. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
I get so sleepy.
I'm a little sleepy already. When can you start drinking, by the way, after you've had COVID? Can I start now?
I think it'd burn it out. Everything I've heard.
How should we do this? We've got we've got 6 games.
A bet between me versus you for best record over the playoffs. We'll keep a running total, and we will, we did a shit job over the season. You can blame me. We missed a couple weeks, whatever. But $20 on the line that I'm going to beat you. That's my bet. $20. Not too rich, not too cheap. You know what I'm saying? I'd buy you 1 Long Island iced tea. What, maybe
just enough
2?
Maybe
2 of them. There you go.
I mean, 4 of them at the Minervas. By the way, tonight's brought to you by the Minervas. It's really
Minervas.
But we are listening to any and all offers if you want to call us. So should we mix it up? Should we do like 2 against a spread and then 1 over under? Or should we do like this money line and a spread and an over under?
I say all of it. Let's just, whatever you want to do. You pick, each game has it. You pick whatever you want. You want the spread, you want the over under, you want the money line. I think this is playoff football here. Everybody's in there but the Steelers for a good reason. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. A little asterisk. I got a little asterisk by their name here.
Asterisks.
Yeah, right there. See it? I don't know. You didn't see it?
I see it. I've seen it. Your camera's nice.
You see?
You have a nice camera. So I'm going to let you go first because I know you're going to do the Cowboys anyways, which is probably a win.
That's tough. There's so much history between those 2 teams, and Mike McCarthy is kind of a dumbass. I'm sorry. I am sorry. He is just a shit coach. I like the fact that Dan Quinn is there backing him up. I think Kellen Moore is a very good offensive mind. Both guys looking at tons of interviews for some of these vacancies right now.
Yeah.
And that terrifies me who we put in place, But Mike McCarthy is just a dumbass. But if you really look at this matchup, if we can stop the run of the 49ers, and sure, we'll probably get some yards to Debo, but if we could put some pressure on Jimmy G, I do think we have this. And all we need to do is win by a field goal. I am going to take the Dallas Cowboys at -3.
I don't have as much to say as you have to say because, that was a great story, but I'm going to make it short and sweet. The Rams, I know they've stumbled a few times this season, but, man, that Stafford Cup connection, which won me some money in fantasy.
Third place for me, baby. Third place for me.
I'm going to take Monday Night Football, the Rams -4. I think they can win by at least 5 against the Arizona Cardinals. They're in LA, Arizona. They're suspect. Started off hot, ended good, but not hot. I got the Rams -4 all day long.
You know what? And if we agree on a bet, that's fine too, Dusty. But you know what? The Steelers, they snuck in. They got a lot of heart. They got a lot of soul. And God damn it, this is probably right. I don't think he's officially said it, but Ben, this is it for Big Ben, at least in Pittsburgh. Maybe his career's over.
He's donezo.
12.5 points. I mean, that is a lot of points. And Big Ben can still throw that ball up, right? Najee Harris is a damn good running back.
Yeah, Juju back.
We've all seen Patty Mahomes struggle. Not saying they're going to, I'm not going to say that Pittsburgh's going to win. I am not taking that plus 500 money line, but I am going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers at plus 12.5 points.
It's a lot of points for a playoff game, man.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, these are all playoff caliber teams, right? Like I said, the Steelers, you could say they're an asterisk, but bullshit. They're still in the NFL playoffs. I mean, now anything can happen.
Yeah. That's a good one. I was going to take that one too. So going up to Sunday, the early Sunday game, Philly in Tampa Bay, 8.5 points is a lot of points, but Tom Brady is a freak, as we all know. We don't even need to go into that because we all know that. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers easily beat the Eagles, I'm guessing by 15 points or more. So I'll take that -8.5 all day long.
Got that TB12, man. That's a regimen. That's a diet, man. We don't do it. We too chusky for that. But, I mean, people who do.
That's opposite
Antonio
of
Brown
our
ain't doing it
lifestyle.
anymore. He wanted half his money back for that. I mean, he put his bank account information. Yeah, that's a whole different story. that's a whole different story. We still got to get to some NFL firings too when we're done with the bets here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? All right.
What do you got? The Raiders at Bengals? Or you like the Patriots at the Bills?
The Raiders at the Bengals. Okay. I think that is going to be I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be the first NFL game.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders are flying high that they made it in. The Cincinnati Bengals have been flying high, just playing well. Jamar Chase, Joey Burrow hook up. They both had the week 18 off.
Studs, man.
I am not going to go either way. I think either team has the ability to win there, but I am going to take the over on the Cincinnati Bengals and Raiders game.
Well, I'm going to end it on a high note because I'm going to double up on this next one because I'm actually going to do this bet tomorrow. I'm going to do a 2-leg parlay here. I'm going to do the Bills minus 4.5 in the insanely cold Buffalo. Is Buffalo considered New England too? I don't even know my geography. I probably didn't pass that class.
It's in that area.
Right? I think they're up there. So I'm going to do the Bills minus 4.5 and the under 43.5. What I probably will do tomorrow. And don't tell my wife this, but probably bet
tease it. You're a fucking
I'm gonna tease that.
Dusty, aren't you?
I'm going to tease that Buffalo Bills plus 1.5 and the under 49.5.
You got 4 bets there, so I got to pick one more, so we're even Stevens here. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, might as well.
You know what? I'm gonna go against you, man. I think the Eagles are gonna put up a hell of a game. I do think Tampa Bay still wins it, but I think it's closer than it should be, and I'm gonna take the plus 8.5 points with the Eagles. I mean, you know how Brady is sometimes. And maybe they end up, I shouldn't say Brady, but the teams he's on sometimes, where they give up tons of points and he's got to chip away and come back. I mean, they'll still win, but I do think the Eagles keep it pretty damn close.
This is also like deja vu for me. This is the time of the season where I think last, I don't know, 3 years, maybe I would think, man, this could be old Tom Brady's last game in the NFL. And it never is. It probably never will be, but eventually it has to be, I think, right? He
keeps winning at a high level, surround himself with people that help him win. I mean, that Tampa Bay team, I know what the whole Antonio Brown situation, we'll call it. That's next man up. How many times did the Patriots have a supporting cast of names that weren't, I don't want to say household names, but the superstars? Was Julian Edelman ever a true superstar? Or was he just damn good? You know what I mean? Julian Edelman reminds me of Cole Beasley. Julian Edelman is better than Cole Beasley. Don't get me wrong. But you know, some of the other teams and stuff like that. So the Tampa Bay team is good. They kept them together for 2 years in a row. Pretty much all the starters came back.
Yeah.
I think next year's not going to be the same. You know, they're going to lose some. People are going to get paid more money and stuff like that. And then we got to save a podcast for the MLB lockout. That's a shit show in its own right as well. So, but there you go. There's 4 bets from each of us. You got to double down on one. You're actually going to tease that game come tomorrow. Make that money. Remember, we got to get to Deadwood soon when you're out of the old quarantine.
I was headed up there Sunday, but that's kind of when I started feeling
that
shitty.
Is right. We had a plan to go up there, and I was like, hell yeah, let's roll. And
I woke up thinking something's wrong. I'm very hungover. Wait a second, I didn't drink last night. Oops.
This is very interesting.
This ain't good.
Rona alert.
Broncos, Dolphins, Jaguars, Vikings, Raiders, Giants, Texans, and the Bears.
Is that all the firings, right?
Head coachless NFL teams.
So out of all those, right, I mentioned earlier Brian Flores. I still think that's the most surprising one out of it.
Absolutely.
I texted my buddy Ty, who's a huge Miami Dolphins fan ever since I've known him. And he's like, this is bullshit. This is ridiculous. Like, why? And his only play was, he's like, the owner has looking for his alma mater, which is Michigan. So the owner, the Dolphins owner who fired Brian Flores, was looking at Michigan to take possibly Jim Harbaugh, but has straight up gone out and said, I am not the one that's going to take Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. So what does that look like, right? Who do they put in there? So I this carousel of coaching, and they're all, some are surprises and some are not. Some are definitely due. Yeah. What do you think, other than Brian Flores, if he's your top one, who do you think's the other surprise? And if it's the same, that's fine too.
None of them are other surprises, man. No, not even
Coley. I think David Coley would be like the second one, just because that's not fair for him. Just be brand new coach under a 4-year deal to get fired in the first season. He doesn't have Deshaun Watson. He was playing David Mills. Tyrod Taylor was injured for a long time. Yeah. I mean, the only weapon that they have, I mean, if your starting running back is Rex Burkhead, you don't have the most explosive offense. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Was Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks was good from a fantasy standpoint, put up a lot of points, but that was really it. I mean, you didn't have, where's everybody else at? You know, JJ Watt's gone. I mean, I think that one's kind of bullshit there. Joe Judge. I mean,
D-Hop gone. Like they blew
exactly.
They blew that team up. I mean, absolutely blew that team up. Like that team is in such disarray with that Deshaun. What? Like,
he's still technically on their
there's
team.
Nothing has happened. He hasn't gone on the exempt list yet, I don't think. Has he?
They want to trade him for a king's ransom, and he has like 22, if not more, civil litigation going on for rape. Or, you know, who wants to first round pick for that?
Can't touch it. No way. He can't touch it, man. I don't know. Other than the Dolphins, I guess none of them.
Who do you, as a Chicago Bears fan, Matt Nagy gone? Definitely was expected, right? Who do you want?
Better than 500 record, but he just had, we, of course, us fans only hear a small percentage, I'm guessing, of what happens behind the scenes. Like there was a report today that back in 2019, when Trubisky was a starting quarterback, and, you know, that season was rough because that was the season, I believe, after the double doink, and expectations were, I think Pace won the GM of the year, maybe, and Nagy won coach of the year, possibly. Is that even a thing, GM of the year? I know Nagy won coach of the year and Pace won something. And then apparently Nagy never came back. So they were supposed to have a meeting the day after the season ended about how they're going to improve. And Trubisky had all these notes. And he showed up to, you know, campus or whatever you want to call it. And Nagy never showed up. That came out today. So it's like, you can tell he's kind of a jerk. Who do I want in Chicago? I don't know. I mean, I hear a lot about Harbaugh with his Chicago connection, obviously, from back in the day. I hear a lot about Flores being the best, you know, head coach out there, head coach worthy person out there. And he is a head coach, so he's obviously worthy of a head coach. I don't know. I think they're going to do it right. But in Chicago, there's like last week, there was so much toxicity around the meeting that the McCaskies had, and Phillips, the president CEO, Ted Phillips, I believe his name is, you know, former players. Olin Kreutz is in Chicago, Lance Briggs. A lot of those former players have been very vocal about them guys, the top down problems, you know, like they're not good owners. They're not there for the players. Like, I feel sorry for Virginia McCaskey. I think it was like, she's basically like Betty White. Rest in peace, Betty White. It's like her same age. I think she's 100. She's 99. She's right in there. Sweetest old lady you could ever imagine. She just wants to see her team win before she dies, I think. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's the third biggest market in the NFL. They've owned it, the Bears, for decades and decades and decades. It was her dad's team, and she just wants to see them guys do well and win one since 85. I know there's Packers fans listening to this, like, I'm like, yeah, shut the hell up. But I don't know, man. I think Flores would probably be the best win now, as long as, and they've got so much invested in this Justin Fields kid. As long as they can make him win, make our defense come around again.
I think a good offensive-minded coach or an offensive coordinator or whatever really kind of, you know, get the ball moving, put it in his hands, use his legs a little bit, nothing too crazy. I think they have high potential there, and they got some good. Mooney was really. I mean, I kept him on the bench fantasy-wise, and I should not have. That end of the game or end of the season, he started tearing it up, dude.
Yeah.
You got Allen Robinson. I think he was injured for most of the year. I think Khalil Mack was injured for most of the year. I mean, I think the Bears got a pretty good team. They just need some, you know, not the injury bug to impact them so bad, and put a good coach around them, a people's coach. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Now, and there's tons of people who are being interviewed. People we're familiar with, people we're not familiar with. Now, you think of the Chicago Bears, and I think of my Dallas Cowboys. Teams that we know the most about. Can you see Kellen Moore or Dan Quinn being the next head coach for the Chicago Bears?
I don't think so.
Thank you for that astute response.
I mean, I never thought about it. He's put me on the spot. I guess
they're all. I mean, I don't know if they've interviewed for that one. I know they're getting interviewed. I know Dan Quinn's turned down a lot of interviews, or at least at that particular time, he's really having fun.
He's a good
really
coach.
Focused.
I mean, yeah,
he's done some good stuff with Falcons, and you know, sometimes you. There, from a coaching perspective, you don't see a lot of Mike Tomlin and Bill Belichick's. You just don't.
No.
You know what I mean? Being in that same role for that long, it's pretty unheard of anymore. You know, I mean, you don't hand out 10-year look at John Gruden, right? Got that 10-year, $100 million contract, whatever. Dude's gone in like the first 3 years. I mean, that's unrelated to performance, but shit like that happens. People make poor choices and or did something they shouldn't, and they eventually get caught. Now that could be a totally different podcast when it comes to all these emails related to the Washington football team, and John Gruden, the Raiders coach, is the one that gets fired. Whatever. Washington football team is going to have they're going to be like the Warriors. I heard that's the rumor mill. I think sometime in February that they're supposed to release who they are. Now, one thing as a Dallas Cowboys fan, I am disappointed in the Joe Judge firing, because if they put somebody else in there, they have a higher probability of winning, and that hurts the Dallas Cowboys in their division. So.
Yeah, that man, can you imagine that being a New York fan, like a dedicated New York fan, Giants or Jets?
I think Jets are putting some stuff together. I don't know if
it happened
what's his
for
name?
years,
Wilson.
though, you know what I mean?
I know. I don't know if Wilson's the guy, but I like Saleh from a coaching perspective in there, give him some opportunity, make some good draft picks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it all fails, is bad free agent signings and drafting bad people. I mean, it's just, but it's tough. How do you really judge? It's Tom Brady, a 7th round pick, right? Look at him. MVP multiple times, easy Super Bowl, excuse me, Hall of Fame, multiple Super Bowls, blah, 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 blah.
That's buying a lottery ticket though, too. You know what I mean?
And then you got someone who drafts Trubisky. What the hell were you thinking?
Let's move on.
All right. That's my bad. All right. Okay. All right. So we got episode 10. So now we are officially over the amount of episodes we did for Midwest Babylon over the span of 2 years.
There you go.
When we rebranded, brought in the other Chusky Boy. JJ was willing to fill in for you, though, this week. I did visit with him. I said, hey, if he can't go, we got to get something out. We'll get his picks. But if, he can't not fall asleep while doing a podcast.
This morning, I didn't think I'd be on, but hey, you know what? I'm here.
Hell yeah.
I'm not fully here, but I'm here. I'm here for the fans. I'm here for our Ireland listeners.
What are you talking about? Don't forget about Canada.
Talking about our Canadian buddies listening north of the border. Don't you know? That's more like Minnesota, North Dakota.
So I think that pretty much puts a bookend on episode 10 of the Chusky Boys. But we do got something big brewing for next week. As long as everything falls in place, we know life can happen. But the Bob Harris from SiriusXM
and fantasyfootballdiehards.com.
Boom. Is going to be on the podcast. Next week's podcast, we're going to talk about recapping this year, what went well, what went wrong, how, if you won, this is what you really looked for, who next year you should be looking at, maybe looking at the NFL draft, who your keepers should be. I mean, just a wealth of knowledge with Mr. Bob Harris. And then maybe this is the opportunity that we talk about the SiriusXM incident. Or is it still too soon?
No, we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about Kirky.
Not really.
We don't talk about Kirky.
Yeah, I think I just want to, he's an interesting guy. He's been making fantasy football his life for a long time. This dude, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but I'm friends with him on Facebook, so I see when he's online. If he's online, he's probably working. He's told me that before. I mean, you can get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, he's online. 7 a.m., getting out of the shower, ready to go to work, he's online. 10 p.m., he's online. He works constantly. He does a super awesome interactive YouTube show. That's the cool thing about him and Fabs, like especially Bob. They're very interactive with their fans, if you will. People got questions for him. Like on Saturday mornings, I take advantage of this many times. Saturday mornings, he'll have a live YouTube where you can ask him questions right there in the comments. He answers everyone's questions. It can be questions about Pantera, his kitty cats. It can be questions about if you should start Cole Kmet or Dallas Goedert. It doesn't matter. He'll answer all those questions for you. Super rad dude.
And Dusty, there you are, man. I think 3 out of the 5 leagues you won this year. Is that correct?
I did, yeah.
If your wife asked, I know the story. If your wife asked, didn't even play fantasy football this year.
No money exchanged.
Won hundreds of dollars.
No money was exchanged. We don't talk about
that.
And I pay all my taxes, if you're wondering.
So Bob Harris, next week we will also recap the first week of the NFL playoffs. If the Cowboys lose, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Go Cowboys. That's all I can say.
They got a good shot, man. I got some Cowboys fans talking with. They're all worried. I don't think you should be worried. I mean, Cowboys, I get it.
You have to be. Bro, you have to be worried.
You're kind of like how the Bears were when they were halfway as good 3 or 4 years ago. They should win. They probably won't. Or the games they should lose, they win. And if you should definitely win, they probably
nationally
lost.
Televised. It's a playoffs. This game means something, right? Game that meant really little. Of course, Dak Prescott throwing 5 touchdowns. Are you fucking kidding me? Now, anyways.
In Dallas, too. That makes a big
Dallas,
difference.
So the weather's there. Zeke's supposed to be feeling good. So, like I said, we'll see how it goes, man. I am cautiously optimistic. That's all you can do. Like you said earlier, in some of the earlier podcasts, I can't have both, is what you said, right? Atlanta Braves won the World Series. The Dallas Cowboys can't win the Super Bowl. I can't have both. Now, state of Georgia did get the Atlanta Braves and the Georgia Bulldogs in the national football title, or college football title. So that's pretty huge.
Cha-ching.
Oh, baby. I didn't bet that game. I know I talked to you about it. and ended up
I did
hitting
good.
everything I would have bet on. Like
I did good
the
on
worst
that
thing
one.
you could do is bet on the bet that you didn't make, right?
Yeah.
So Dusty, I always ask you this, right? And even as a Corona stricken, I have a question for you.
I'm a survivor.
You are a survivor so far, right?
So
You're not back to
far.
work yet. So, cautiously optimistic. Keep checking that
Thus
oxygen,
far.
brother. You call me if you need anything. I mean, I'm not going to do anything, but I mean, just call me if you need anything.
Makes sense.
I always ask you this, right? If you are not chubby,
I know the answer to this. Give me a minute. Got a little bit of NyQuil in me.
is that all you've been drinking? So if you're not chubby
Yes.
and you're not husky, even with the coronavirus, what are you?
You're still a Chusky at heart.
You goddamn right, you're still Chusky. All right? Hell yeah. Episode 10 in the books. Dusty, always a pleasure. Talk to you next week.
It's over. Peace.